Yeah.
All right, so we are live streaming, we are recording. And ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, thanks everybody for being here. This is the Solid Waste Special Service District, meeting January 15th, 2025. My name is Colin Topper, I'm the chair. If we could just go around first the room and then we'll go on Zoom and we can all introduce ourselves. Ashley, do you want to start us out?
Yeah, Ashley Wareham, board member.
Chris Scoville, district manager.
Mary McCann.
Commissioner.
Lily Houghton, administrative manager.
Jessica Backer, district clerk.
Okay. Online, Diane?
Diane Ackerman, board member.
Nick Lundberg, accounting support.
You're muted, Mike.
Actually, I don't think yes sound.
Oh,
This mic sound, but he doesn't have sound. There he is.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about now?
yep.
Yep.
Mike Dunaway, board member.
Okay. And then we have our applicant in the waiting room. Okay, so we will, do we have any citizens to be heard? Any emails, Jessica?
I didn't see any. Did you see any? No, when I checked. Okay, because my Outlook is on the crits again.
Turned off.
And then.
I was, but I turned it off.
AJ's on.
Okay, so we'll move on to, A, action item, interview new board candidate. AJ, are you with us?
Yep. Good afternoon.
Okay, so AJ, the way this will work is just for simplicity, I will be asking the questions. After your response, we'll allow the board members to ask follow-up questions. And so do you want to start out by just introducing yourself?
Yeah, can do. So hey everyone, my name is AJ Throgmorton. I've been in Moab for about 2 years to the day now. Moving here, I kind of got involved with a few different areas. Attended a couple of meetings for the county, the city, and ultimately got involved with the county on the budget advisory board and was going through some of it. And just looking for ways that I could help out around the county, just around the community in general. So kind of learned a little bit. A little bit about the solid waste district here. Definitely interested from my own perspective in recycling and looking to learn a little bit more about it, seeing where I can help out. That's kind of what led us here today.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so AJ, starting out, why do you want to serve on the solid waste board? I know you touched on this a little bit, but here's another opportunity.
Definitely. Well, in going through my work on the budget advisory board, we got to see across the board of everywhere the county spends money, where there were a lot of opportunities to kind of improve on some of our spending and financials. I understand it was a couple of years back, the county decided to purchase essentially the waste department from Monument Waste, and I think we incurred pretty high debt load with that. And I'd kind of be curious and all just learning more about it, maybe looking at how we could reorganize it a little bit as one area. Like I said, I was talking to Lily yesterday and she mentioned a couple of grants and some things that are in effect for the recycling. And that's definitely a big area for me personally and that I'd like to help out with. And then my overall background is kind of in the IT realm for healthcare mainly, but I'm pretty decent with just general IT and kind of software. I'd noticed in one of Chris Scoville's reports, I think it's a new HR training program and possible issues that continue to rise with that software implementation and data transition. Just kind of a specific area that I grabbed out of one of the agendas where maybe my background would lend itself to helping out.
Great. Does anybody have any follow-up questions on that for AJ?
No, there's some clarifications though, that we are not the county, we're a special service district. So the debt incurred was not the county's, it was our organization.
Understood. Yeah, my thinking was more that, in looking at the county's budget all year for the kind of intense focus sessions that we did, what I learned, in going through those exercises could hopefully apply to help out with some of the budgeting and financials here.
I have a follow-up question. AJ, on your IT background, like what part of IT do you have the most experience in?
Yeah, I'm primarily focused in security based in application layer security. So I do a lot with kind of like access management, making sure folks have the right level of privilege and access within various systems across, Windows, a couple of healthcare industry specific apps. I got some abilities with like switchboard, call center operations, service desk, tier 1 support. Mainly, those areas. I can keep going. I didn't put you to sleep
no,
yet.
that's great.
All right.
I think the thing that we're dealing with now isn't those, but I would imagine your just understanding of IT in general and all that stuff will be helpful with the issues we're having with.
Where we exploited my knowledge for the BAB work was just basic spreadsheet manipulation. The county is all a Google shop, and Google spreadsheets present their own layer of challenges. But if you can work in one spreadsheet, you can pretty much work in any of them. So kind of an Excel guru, we could tap into that a little bit.
Sounds great.
AJ, I have a question for you. I'm Diane Ackerman. I'm Zooming. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Diane?
Great. I read a little bit about your application. Do you actually live here in Moab at this time?
I do. Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. One clarification on that. I had a verbiage for, and I apologize for this, on that application, it referenced the planning commission. I was applying for a planning commission with the county as well. All of my background and everything, both work related and then on that kind of personal experience note. All of those points still apply, but just a clarification, it did mention planning commission in those responses. So a little typo on my part.
Saw that.
Yeah,
Okay.
from the IT guy.
Okay, anything else on number one? Okay, and so there is, AJ, you'll notice, you've touched on these things a little bit, but we are, just following a form and just being sure that we're asking all the same questions to all the applicants. And so number two states, what do you know about the Solid Waste Special Service District?
What I know is kind of what I'm able to glean off of the website. You know, I actually learned from talking to Lily, I didn't realize there was a transfer station out at Klondike, which is definitely interesting to me. I'm a patron of.
No, there's not.
I'm sorry, AJ. I think that might have been a miscommunication. The Klondike landfill north of the airport and the transfer station here at off of South Highway 191 are, while we own them as part of this organization, they are like separate locations. So the Klondike landfill is closed to the public. Only franchise haulers can go there. So I'm sorry if
Okay.
there was a misunderstanding there.
All good. Just even more learning for me right there. So awesome. And then I'm a patron of the recycling center. Love everything that's offered over there. The landfill up by Slick Rock, I use it. Transfer stations as well. So, you know, as a member of the community, I use all these things and definitely interested in learning a bit more about how they actually function.
Great, it is a complex beast for sure.
As evidenced, for sure.
Any follow-up questions? Okay, moving on to number three. AJ, how do you approach solving a problem when working with people with different viewpoints and goals?
Well, I give folks the benefit of the doubt, and I always frame it to where complaints or issues with the given situation are all coming from a good place, one that they would like to improve on and try to work on problem solving together. So, you know, it might seem like somebody bringing opposition or a gripe, a complaint to the table is just that, but usually I think it's coming from a good place. So, you know, I kind of embrace any of those challenges that come up through differing opinions and try to fully understand it and then work on a solution from that point.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Okay, AJ, what two qualities do you have that will make you a good board member?
Well, technical expertise, like I said, I'd love to see that new training software where I might be able to help out with something like that. Just other technical aspects that the board interacts with on day-to-day business. And then I would go back just to that general problem solving ability, you know, working to understand a problem better and looking at ways we might provide a solution for it.
Great. Follow-up? Okay, what are your thoughts about recycling in our isolated community?
That's one of the key reasons that I got here. I pay it, just personal anecdote. I pay for the dumpster that dumpster service that comes by for collection each week, or I think I'm on a bi-week schedule. I love that. You know, Lily had mentioned there was some grant money, I think, that came through the mix that we just got approved for. So anywhere we could help out with the financial burden for the community there, I think is definitely nothing but positive. But honestly, even if it does cost us a little bit, I just still think that the benefit for us as a community and, you know, feeling good about what we're doing on the recycling front's still important. So it's my personal opinion, but even if we do pay for it a little bit, or if it's not exactly breaking even, definitely not a moneymaker, but none of that bothers me. So that's just my personal stance on it.
AJ, I think you mentioned, this is Diane again. I think you mentioned that you had been by the recycle center up the Sand Flat Road. And then you mentioned, I think what you mentioned is the yellow topped single stream also that you pay for on the curb.
Yeah.
What is your perception of those two methods of recycling?
Well, I mean, it's just across town to go up the Sand Flats Road location, and everything's broken out, in a really organized fashion up there. So I've got no problem making that drive for myself personally. There are times when I fill up my takeaway dumpster too, so I'll go over there or just wait for the following week. But both the Sand Flats locations, wonderful for all the reasons listed, and I can usually manage what I have to do with my takeaway dumpster too.
Have you ever lived in an area where you've had a recycle center like the one up at Sand Flat Road?
Not that I can think of. I've lived in areas where recycling service was removed from a takeaway service, and I definitely know I didn't appreciate that. So it's you get into the habit of just having your own container for recycling, and it's just natural where certain things go into the garbage or compost, and the recycling gets broke down into that receptacle. So even just getting in that groove from a personal standpoint and what your routine is, having something like that change was difficult.
Yeah, well, we feel quite fortunate that we have the recycle center as well as the single stream, the one that you get at the curb. And so I'm happy that you're here and want to learn more about it.
Absolutely, me too.
Okay, any other follow-ups?
I would just say really quick, AJ, this is LJ. I did want to mention you were talking about whether or not the entity was profitable or not. And I want to make it clear that as a special service district, we are not for profit at all.
Very good. Understood.
Thanks, LJ. Okay, moving on. The solid waste is a long-term industry that requires advanced planning and vision. Where do you see Moab and its waste management in 5 years?
Well, it goes back to wanting to know more about like the landfill specifically. I'm definitely curious on, I don't know, excuse me if I don't use the right terminology, but what the overall capacity is up there, and what that plan really entails for 5, 10, even decades out. Do you fill it up at some point? Do we have to find another location in conjunction with something like Klondike? And where would that be? What's that look like? So that part's intriguing enough to me, and making sure we've got a good plan for sustainability and longevity there. And then the recycling, really just on that longer time frame, hoping that we stay committed to a solid recycling plan. And it's not profitable, we're a nonprofit, but if it begins to be what some members of the community see as a financial burden, making sure that we've got our priorities and they're not just driven by if this thing's costing us a bit more year to year. That's important.
Great. Follow up. Okay, 2 more, AJ. First, what is your experience making strategic organizational and financial decisions?
Coming up on 15 years working in IT, managing large scale, small scale projects with, departmental impact, with overall organization wide impacts for projects that are up into the tens of millions of dollars range. So definitely not a stranger to making decisions and working on projects of that nature.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
It's not quite on this, but somewhat. Have you ever served on any, well, you've done you did the Budget Advisory Board. So you're aware of the different restrictions and such that we have as a district or a government agency as opposed to private.
I think so. Yep.
Okay, the last question. As a citizen of Grand County and thus a customer of solid waste, what do you see as solid waste's biggest challenge when it comes to meeting residents' needs?
I think it's consistency in the takeaway service. I think that, making sure that those routes are hit consistent and regular. And I say that, but then I'm also going to give kudos to the team that does it because they're amazing. And like I've had once or twice where a dumpster was missed, honestly, because of my own fault, where I didn't get the dumpster out far enough. And we've got those rules in place of, move dumpsters out this far off of the curb or whatever it may be. So I appreciate that. But then also seeing that there's that customer oriented approach, when I was big enough to admit that I screwed up on something, the team were good to respond and kind of go above and beyond for that service. So it's an extremely critical service, and knowing that we've got a customer oriented team, it's a big win.
Yes, indeed. Definitely a critical service. Okay, any follow-up?
I have a question again. This is Diane. When I read your application, I would like for you to maybe clarify who you work for, called Modern Workforce, and then it was described as a healthcare organization. So they don't seem to mix. They don't sound, it doesn't sound like Blue Cross Blue Shield or something that we're used to. So can you explain what that's about a little bit?
I can. And it's kind of oxymoronic because if you say you work on a modern workforce in the healthcare industry, it's about the most antiquated industry that you could find as far as technology goes. So there's plenty of job security, but it's an uphill battle to bring healthcare into a modern workforce, kind of a landscape. I could disclose what the organization is. You probably haven't heard of it. It's a small regional hospital out on the East Coast. But my position specifically is the director of modern workforce in the IT department. And really it's focused on just making sure we're on the leading edge for the technology that we use. So we're looking at, cloud-based solutions, kind of moving some of our stuff from on-prem servers to the cloud, looking at improved workflows for our end users and really just making it more efficient for healthcare delivery in general. But a lot of these best practices span healthcare and all other industries.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Does anybody have anything else for AJ?
No.
Okay, AJ, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Are we going to keep, I might just hang out and listen for a little bit.
Absolutely, you are welcome to. Yeah.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks, everyone.
Well, we're on to discussion of a possible action item, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
I was, one thing that I was impressed with that, a lot of people in the community don't readily say is that he recognizes the hard work, the dedication of that just really hit a positive because that's, a lot of people just think it's comes and goes and they don't really ever put a human face to it.
Well, they just don't think about it.
Very well
Yeah,
said,
they just
very
don't
well
think of
said,
it.
Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a plus right there, that he comes in with an understanding of the difficulty that our staff faces. It's a
Absolutely.
hard, stinky job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Underappreciated. Yeah. And also the IT stuff is in the current state of things in our circumstances is
It's
gonna be
very beneficial.
very beneficial. Yep.
So, any other discussion? I would make a motion that we recommend AJ Throckmorton. Well, I won't say it again. As said by Lily, that we send a recommendation to the Grand County Commission to recommend him as becoming a board member.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ashley. Any discussion?
It's exciting to have a full board if we,
It really is.
I
Okay.
can't imagine the commission's gonna throw up any fit.
Yeah.
It'll be on the consent agenda since there's only one applicant.
Great. Okay, so we'll have a vote, a show of hands. All in favor? Doesn't look like there are any opposed. Any opposed? AJ, welcome to the team.
Be able to come to, we can swear him in at the next meeting.
That sounds great. Yeah, can you, AJ, if you can be here in person in the next meeting, if possible?
Do we know what date that is off the top of our head?
Yeah.
19th of February.
Mhm.
Yep, can do.
Okay,
Yeah, and there's things for you to sign and such, so we can get you, have you become a check signer. Cause that's a
Sounds
big
good.
job.
Understood. Thank you all. I'm really looking forward to it.
great, excellent. Okay, moving on to the approval of minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look through the minutes? I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion,
Okay, we're gonna give it to you, Diane.
make a motion that we approve the, I think it's November 20th, 2024 minutes as we received in the packet.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thanks, LJ. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, show of hands. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Okay, moving on to the treasurer financial report.
All right, December expenses were lower than November. November, again, just with our bi-weekly payroll system, encompassed 3 payrolls, so it had more expenses. And 1 payment was made to the PTIF fund. AJ, if you're still on, that's the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund, where we can put money. Payroll expenses were $244,705.91. So payrolls have been lower for months, which has become the normal, but the district has also been understaffed for months. So I kind of want to stress that. When I started about a year ago, I want to say we had like 36 staff members. We currently have only 31 employees, but now we're kind of juggling that with 6 temporary workers. So we're seeing this kind of deflated amount in payroll and benefits. We're now having larger payments to Elwood staffing as this 3-month probationary period. But even with those 6 temps, 37, I think we're still not fully staffed. So I just want the board to be aware of that as we're looking to fill more positions.
Can you say a little bit about where those shortages are specifically?
Yeah, I think Chris could probably speak to this too. I think we're definitely down. Another driver would be excellent. I think 2 would be ideal. And I think operations for like a heavy equipment operator and then a heavy equipment mechanic.
Yeah.
Are there any others?
No, those are the big ones. I mean, we kind of shuffle around, use what we have, but those would definitely be the ones if I were to pick the top 4.
Okay. And what if those are listed right now? Any of them?
They all are.
They all are. Okay.
Yeah, and we've been interviewing. I was going to touch on that in my staff report, but I feel like I've become really comfortable with this, payroll being about $90,000 for wages and some benefits, monthly medical benefit expenditures being about 45,000, but just realizing that will change as hopefully our temp workers move into being full-fledged employees and as we look at addressing these shortages.
Okay.
But yeah, we've just been holding steady at that.
Okay. And I didn't know if we were waiting until things picked up in the season to list them, but they're.
Yes, I mean,
Nice, good people.
because right now we're getting a large amount of applicants. It
Great.
happens every year. Everyone closes down, people look, so we have a seasonal thing.
Then they quit.
But yeah, we usually do another push right in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's nice to get them filled now, because then by the time that we're
Training
busy,
and-
they get their training rather than, just throwing them right into the busy season and they're just going, oh, wow, what I do.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, Lynn.
Oh, no, those are great questions. So the December 13th payroll, and this number does include some of the benefits like the life insurance and the HSA. I've started adding those in. Previous board reports didn't have those accounted for. But so December 13th was $95,516.06. December 27th was $96,204.64, which did include a small holiday bonus for staff members.
Yay.
Yeah, we did that this year. Operational expenses are $132,862.10. So fuel expenses were just over 20,000. The total for repair and maintenance was 28,000. Engineering expenses, which did include several invoices that had not been received, so it included August through I want to say November, came out to about 18.5. And then temporary labor, again, we're seeing that large increase, it's 15,000. I did include, in addition to the expenditure sheet, which is just looking at the payments made in December, which could include invoices from November or previous months. I included the profit and loss statement. So we don't really have the profit all in there yet, but it had the expenses broken out with the different line items. And I thought that that might more clearly show the board, especially with repairs and maintenance, what was vehicle, what was building.
Great.
So that is included in the board packet. If you have any questions about that, I thought it would just give a clearer
I
picture
appreciated that, yeah.
for that. And I did include the previous month's comparison. But again, this is kind of a rolling target. I was looking through my invoice bucket and I do have a few invoices from December in there that aren't then captured in this report. So it's sort of, the expenditures look at what was paid that month. I mean, they're both on accruals, but it's sort of, it's not really apples to apples.
I have a
That's-
question.
Oh, who wants to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Nick.
No problem.
I was signing checks this month and if we're raking through everything, it is a lot of work. Mary, I know why you were like, we need more people to sign. But my main question is going to the engineer expenses. There were a couple of invoices that I would not sign the check for. Are those included in this cost right here? Do we need to approve that dollar amount, even though I think that we have a stance to have them reduce those invoices?
Yeah, and so HDR engineer, the total amount is in there, even though we haven't paid them. I have reached out and we're still waiting on hearing back what those were, but it's just capturing the it's interesting, it says bill payment check because I haven't issued a check for it. It's still just sitting in, accounts payable in QuickBooks. But yeah, I think it's just capturing all of the bills that were entered.
Okay, I just wanted to know when we're approving dollar amounts, if that's as much as the same dollar amount that we've signed all the checks for and approved to be sent off, or if it's kind of how it works. So if
Let me double check because I know it was quite a lot for engineering. Let me just pull up the spreadsheet.
yeah, sorry, I'm throwing a
No.
curveball at you that you might.
No, it is the total. Wait, it's not. It's only the two that were paid. I'm so sorry. Yes. Yeah, it's only the two that were paid. In total, they say we have $23,000.
You want to go?
And I've only paid, no, it's Chris. The $18,000 is what we paid, which were the complete invoices for August and September and October, not the July or November that you flagged.
Okay,
So,
perfect. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
no, thank you for asking, because I was like, it was a big number. It sounds like all of them, but
Yeah.
it's not. Okay.
Hey, thank you.
Good job, Ashley. Thanks for your thoroughness with the checks. Yeah.
She caught one at
Yeah.
a time. And we don't, just to make sure that all people know that when you have a credit card, you have to double check the receipts. That's real important. That's what, in a course we took it. It said that's probably where the number one fraud happens, is credit cards. So go through and you check and make sure that there's a receipt that matches each.
Yes.
So that makes it even longer.
And then I was just gonna touch on the temp labor, a little over 15,000. If you add that into the total payroll, then you get a better thought for what future payroll is gonna be looking like for other people. And then I had a question about the trucking R&M that's included in the total R&M for the 15,937. Even though I signed checks, that I don't remember it being that much, so it might have been from something else.
Oh, let me look at that. I think, I actually don't have QuickBooks open, so I can't see.
No,
I can do that, but I can get you a more detailed breakdown of what made that up. I know there were quite a few payments to Wheeler, and I think that would have been 30.
and I didn't go through the entire, I looked at the P&L and then didn't total up the ones on the expense report. So I was just curious, but that would make sense. No, I would imagine. It seemed like there was a lot of really high ones to like Wheeler and so I
Nick,
didn't flag anything.
did you have something to add, Nick?
Just just more of a point of information for the board is the expenditure detail you're looking at on the screen here is kind of think of it as the check register. So it's what's coming out of the bank account by essentially check number or ACH.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
With the kind of the abbreviated P&L that you attached also, again, we're not finalized yet, but that's kind of what the route we want to go is to eventually at these board meetings be able to look at that P&L in the aggregate and see the revenues and expenses. So right now, what's included with the board packet is mostly some of the expenses. In my report, I'll go over what I'm still working on in relation to 2024.
Thanks, Nick.
Lily, I really like this profit and loss, how you have it for the current month and then the previous month, so we can see where this is at. If you could keep doing that, that'd be so.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about this in my staff report, but this is the first time I've been able to reconcile both operation and payroll account, like by the 10th of the month, the additional CSRs. I mean, that's huge. That we're there. So
Good,
yeah,
good job.
yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Okay. Any other questions for Lily?
I do have that profit and loss. I was just pulling it up now so I can tell LJ the 15,000. I don't know if you want to look at it. It's quite a bit for inland truck. And then 5,000 to Kenworth for, what was that for?
I just was curious if we
5,700.
had any.
A turbo for 205 was purchased. so,
Okay.
I'm really happy if you want to look through this.
No,
Detail.
I was just curious
That's
if
all.
there was like any major repairs, but it sounds like the turbo was the big thing.
Speaking of all these repairs, sorry. I know when I was signing checks, I was asking you and I interrupt you a lot. Do you guys have a system for returning your cores? Cause I know obviously we have to pay for it now, but then we're gonna get a potential credit later if it's a good core. You guys have a good system to get return.
Yeah, I mean, we do that. I don't know how good of a system it is. Actually, sometimes it causes some issues because of the way that we pay out and then all the checks are signed and issued. So then when it comes back in, where do you put that credit? So, I mean, I wouldn't say the accounting side of it is good, but we do,
You do make sure.
yeah, the course, yeah.
And they're reflected somewhere, so.
It should be an offset against your expense. So if you were billed for a core to, truck maintenance, then down the road, when the core comes back in, that credit should go against truck maintenance also from an accounting standpoint.
We could probably do a little bit better trying to identify that on the fleet maintenance side to try to reflect that. Because I think it only happens if we can get it done before the next payroll cycle goes through.
Yeah, and right now it's when I get the credit memos and then they're usually eaten up by the expenses, so you don't really see necessarily the full credit, but I can try and highlight that in the future.
Great.
Yeah, it usually is a timing difference between when you're charged for a core and when you actually get the refund of the core. It could be a month down the road, possibly.
Okay, anything else for Lily? Do we have a motion?
Okay, it's right.
On that first page.
I make a motion to approve the expenditures of the month of December 2024 in the amount of $486,080.65.
Thanks, Mary. Second,
I'll second.
I have
Thanks,
to
Ashley.
open to that and then I'll.
any more discussion? Okay. Vote, all in favor? Are there any opposed? Diane, was that in favor or? Okay, great, thank you.
I'm in favor.
There it is.
Okay, moving on to, okay, staff reports. Chris.
I'll just be real quick. It's January. I don't have a whole lot. I tried to go through some of it. Thanks for Ashley and Colin for coming in and bearing with trying to finish up that. I know it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Great
I
information.
think down here we have a workshop. I think a part of that workshop, I really would like to kind of figure out exactly what information, the board wants to hear. I mean, I know, from my end of it, it's a lot and that's my process to go through it, but you guys don't necessarily need to know all the gory details. So I think, kind of refining, my presentations, monthly, I think would help me a lot. So just real quick, touching on a couple things. So obviously AMCS is still, an issue, an ongoing issue. So I've started the procurement, process to move towards, getting new software. I mean, at some point, we just have to accept the fact that this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, I've actually had some contact with them. I now have a personal number and we've been assigned a success coach or something. Can't remember exactly what they called it. So they are making efforts to address things. And maybe Lily can address this a little bit more than I can. I feel like billing is slowly making some advancements. So, but that's still, I mean, this has gone on for a couple of years, so I'm still not gonna, until basically Lily and Savannah come to me from the billing side and then from the dispatch side, and they're like, oh yeah, let's go. I'm still gonna move forward with the procurement process.
And what does that look like for you right now?
As far as I've located about 6 different companies that I'm gonna reach out to.
Okay.
I've also joined, so it's SWANA, the Solid Waste Association of North America. I joined they have technical divisions. I just registered for their collection department, and there's tons of information on different software and stuff. So I'll probably, grab a couple more out of there and then try to refine it. So I'm looking probably at the end of February is we'll go out there and then probably use the month of March to let it go out and give maybe a 30 days for people to respond to an RFP.
Okay.
So the other thing, so obviously that's has to be a top priority for us to succeed. The other top thing is our collections. We are just getting hammered. I had a great discussion with the drivers, motivational speech and all this, and they were all hyped up. They came in and the work the next day and half the trucks were down. So that next day, they spent running 3 trucks on 5 routes. Just now, so I've upped the dates of the rentals. We just had one just pulled in the yard right now.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, okay.
I'm also meeting with, a few different people, so I got a lot of different directions I'm going with this, but one I'm kind of excited about on the 21st is, it's this same company, this big truck rental. They got a program called Complete Fleet, where they're just gonna give me a number and they'll just show up and I can actually pick which trucks I want. What they do is they go out and they buy them. I mean, the numbers are pretty steep, but obviously if you look at the repair and maintenance versus our ability to get the job done. I mean, that's my number one priority, is to be able to pick up trash. That's, we gotta pick up trash and we gotta be able to bill for it. Otherwise, we don't win this scenario. So next month, I'll should have some numbers and stuff, what that stuff looks like. But I have 2 more that we're gonna get, because if you remember, we're looking at 3. I was gonna do 2 and then leave the third one as an option. I'm just gonna get 3. I've got 1 now. And they're making the other 2. So I'm just gonna get them here as quick as possible. And I think that's all I got. I was trying to go real short because I know Jess was gushing. I want her to talk about the grants and stuff.
Chris, what kind of trucks are they? Internationals or?
This one, I believe it's a Freightliner. I mean, if you want to look at it, you guys want to take a minute to
Is
look
it
at.
the one I got the insurance card for? That's
Yeah.
an international.
Yeah, okay.
wow.
International,
Yeah.
It's a beautiful truck out there. Yeah.
yeah.
And they're gonna find out who gets to drive it, eh?
Well, actually, it's the ones that take care of the most and keep it the cleanest is the top of the list.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Or Lily.
Lily.
Oh, sorry.
They're just
What
excited.
am I doing? Sorry.
oh, may I go?
Yes, please.
Okay, Well, I would say overall cash flow has improved. I mean, we've definitely been through the ringer with AMCS, but now that we have so many more customers set up on auto pay, I'm really seeing a difference in the cash flow, which makes everything else work so much better. So the current PTIF balance is almost 1.3 million, which is excellent. So we're on track for the bond payment that we'll be making, is it, I believe in May. And I've been also trying to have the money work more for the district. We've kept quite a large balance in the accounts, which don't have the same interest rate as the PTIF fund. So I wrote a check for $200,000 to the PTIF fund last payroll. I'll probably be writing another check next week with next payroll cycle, just to get a higher rate of return. I mean, the money market in Mackey is 2.5% and the PTIF, I think, is over 5%.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah,
I
the,
mean,
the PTIF has a pretty good, right now it's about 4 point,
oh,
at the end of December, it's 4.75, but yeah, it's definitely at least, 2 percentage points higher than the CD.
to just have, I mean, knowing that we can always get that money back if we need it, but just to hopefully accrue more interest. The CSRs are going great. I feel like we are slowly resolving issues, at least on the billing side. I've been told that the routes and dispatch, that's not really my purview. I don't know it as much. Savannah could speak more to that, but at least with billing, we're getting things figured out. Now on the customer portal, you can sign up for auto pay and you can pay ACH, which you couldn't do for months. We were waiting on that. We were having some difficulty billing the landfills in October and November, but we have figured out that it was unfortunately a user error of, we do things by volume. AMCS is more of a weight-based. The new CSRs had not been properly trained, but even though we don't do weights, we have to still enter a weight, which falls to me. But so the tickets were just all zero, and we had to delete and re-enter all the tickets from those months. But going forward, the landfill billing will be more smooth. I've been looking at closing NMI and Card Connect, which was our previous credit card processor. We're paying about $65 a month to keep them live. I decided to hold off though as we look at the procurement process because different applications could utilize that. I figured it was worth it. As for kind of the HR front, we have been doing interviews mainly for operators and CDL drivers. So we're hoping to bring more on to the staff. And I did an audit of our Form I-9s, which are employment eligibility forms, and just trying to button up a few loose ends with that, which have been good. And then, yeah, so nerdy. I was so excited. I reconciled the bank accounts like in the month. Yeah, I know we still have to figure out like the revenue with AMCS and how to bring.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into that, but
I've had a ticket in the support portal with the QuickBooks import since September that has never been contacted on. But we'll get there. So overall, I think it's going well, or way better than it was.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Thanks, Lily.
That's gotta be frustrating because that was the main reason, one of the reasons we went with them was to be able to download QuickBooks and just upload it right into QuickBooks. And yeah,
I'm still doing my spreadsheet, entering things.
I can probably help out with both of those. You're happy to check it out.
That'd be fantastic. And I think just someone that can speak the lingo. There was a customer, we were having issues with the customer portal with AMCS, and someone that lives in Moab called in and said, I'm a software developer. You are getting these errors. You need to tell them to fix these things. And that was really helpful.
Excellent. Yeah, hope to put you right to work, AJ. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Hey, any questions for Lily? Thank you. Okay, Jessica.
All right, hold on.
Now
I gotta
you're-
do my stamps. All right, so of course, the first thing I'm gonna talk about is the compost grant. So at the end of December, I believe it was the 17th, we received notification from the USDA that we had been recommended to pre-award, that was their official term, but we had been accepted for a food waste minimization and pilot compost project valued at $300,809 and $300,809 to install and operate an in-vessel composter and generate a small-scale food waste diversion and collection program that would be a hybrid combo of a in-person drop-off location and a pilot curbside collection. Or when I say curbside, it's we give them the bin and we need to work out the logistics of whether they bring the bin back or we go and collect it if it's a small enough pilot program.
Well, we've been working it all with restaurants.
Yes, so this grant was actually a collaborative effort between us, the city of Moab, Moab Grown, and USU Moab Extension. So there's 4 entities that are involved. We're the main recipients, since we will be operating and maintaining the in-vessel
What
composter.
was the one besides USU Moab?
Moab Grown. It's a sustainability initiative that's associated with USU. I believe the main individual is Sherry Duncan. So all pre-award documentation has been submitted with the anticipated funding start being March 2025. I did write a little note here. I would like to express appreciation to all the collaborators that were involved in the development of this grant, as well as Chris, who stayed with me trying to get all of the pre-award document submission done, because since there is an incoming transition government-wise, everything needs to be buttoned up. So when you get a notification December 17th and you have to have everything in by January 3rd with 2 major holidays in between, it is incredibly difficult, especially when half the people at the USDA that are assigned to your case, either one, no longer work there, or were on vacation as well. And one of our collaborators was also on vacation, and the second collaborator actually was down with norovirus. So,
Oh, norovirus.
so Chris was absolutely instrumental in helping me get everything submitted. I would not have been able to do it on my own. I'm a
Thank you.
one-woman team. And there was also a lot of issues on their end because they misspelled my name. So when you're trying to submit for funding on in government and they get your name wrong, it sends a lot of red flags and shuts down all of your accounts and you have to resubmit a lot of stuff. So it's not very fun. But now we're in full like feet hitting the ground. We have a meeting with Alexi and their new AmeriCorps Vista on the 23rd to begin determining what tasks we need to start with, who needs to do what. You're basically assigning roles and tasks. So we're, really taking fully advantage of this funding because I believe this is only the second grant we've ever received. So that's really exciting. So does anybody have any questions about the compost grant?
Where's the in-vessel going to be?
We aren't quite sure yet. We had originally posted for Moab landfill since it's already got a compost permit up there. But when you think of it in a future stance, it might be more beneficial to put it here at the transfer station because we've already got the vector issue, which is like smells, odors, and foodborne, those sort of issues. I mean, we already kind of have that here being a transfer station. So we could, and also we'd have the 2 main CSWA individuals, myself and Chris, be able to, direct eyes onto it. And then there's also your electrical connections, your water connections, the foundation, because it's a 40-foot in-vessel composter that's going to be in a shipping container. So we're kind of, and there's also building permits involved. And so basically we're keeping it open to a lot of locations that it would be most suited based on recommendations from contractors and UDEQ, because if we do move it down, we're gonna have to adjust our permit. There's a lot of moving parts in it.
Yeah, so, I was gonna just ask about the permit process. Is it, I think it took us a while the last time to get that permit for us on the.
So as I understand it, the compost, and Chris could probably speak a little bit better to this, our compost permit is specifically pilot compost, correct? Not a full-blown compost?
Well, no, we never figured it out. It's part of the bigger issue with the district is a lot of historical data that we just don't have access to. When we were going through and trying to figure it out, we found there was there was a pilot, program going on. And then like the documents now, if you go there, like we have a composting, and it's not, you don't need a permit. It's kind of like the transfer station when you have to have a plan of operations. But we
Okay,
can't
yeah.
find the transition from the pilot to the actual acceptance of a full-blown composting
I
program.
don't think they ever got it.
And that's what we were
I don't
worried
think
about
they-
is that there might have been
It
no.
never got off on the, I think that's Debbie Barton was the one that started that.
Yeah.
And, she was gone.
Right after.
before-
It was like
Yeah,
right
there
around the
was a
time.
Transition time where I just don't think it went past.
But from a district standpoint, we have been paying for it. I pay quarterly fees for it. Basically under that umbrella is what we're running the mulch thing. So and the
Oh, yeah.
and the
Oh, yeah,
and the
that's right. Forgot that.
and the UDEQ is accepting it. So if at some point they didn't accept it or whatever, they're still acknowledging the fact by accepting our money for it. So yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah,
that'll be,
okay, I
I've
remember.
already started to try to clarify that. Cause I mean, one way or another, we need to figure it out.
Yeah, and I've started doing research, or I've pulled the most recent Utah Administrative Code. And again, Chris probably leagues ahead of me on this one, on how to build that plan of operations that because there's guidance provided by the UDQ. Plus, they give the Associated Utah Administrative Code on the proper way to write a plan of operations for a composting facility. But there's just like all those little working things and, if we do move it down here, we're gonna have to record with the county recorder. That's one of the stipulations. So, and that in itself is a process. So, and, there may be noticing requirements. So basically just trying to get an established timeline and an established, list of tasks. So we don't mess up anywhere in this opportunity. Any other questions on it?
And so again, you said March?
March.
Okay, it's a lot
Is
to
that
be done.
right? That's a lot,
And when it gets closer, we will be planning some kind of event around it.
Oh, yeah, there's
to
gonna be a lot.
bring a lot of attention to, because this to me is one of the great examples of one of the benefits of having everything under the one roof, the solid waste district.
Yeah,
What we're able to do.
that's definitely on my administrative and programmatic task list. It's already almost a page long. And that's, but one of the great things is our collaborations, or our plan of work with the collaborators, USU, Moab Grown, City of Moab, they're more heavily involved in the community engagement.
Great.
Networking, identifying, because they've already gone out, like the previous Vista went out and identified some institutions and entities or food service producers that were interested. So we had the Grand Canyon School District indicated some interest. I believe Moab Regional Hospital indicated some, Moonflower Co-op, 98th Center, and there's one other location, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Great.
So that's what the pilot program comes in, is we start getting, large portions from these larger institutions, and then we've got smaller ones so we can kind of see the level. I think we've even talked about potentially seeing if we could get some sort of participation for City Market, because they produce quite a bit of food waste.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the number I threw at you
For
for the
City-
City Market? Cause I pulled
I'm not sure. I mean, and just to put things in perspective though, this initial one is we don't need a whole lot of food to get this thing started. I mean, it's gonna be one guy in a pickup. And I mean, it's pretty minimal. I think initially we were talking about 2 96-gallon poly carts full of food is what we need to get it and get the machine starting to produce.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not gonna be this big logistical thing to try to get all this food.
Sure,
We can
sure,
pick one
sure.
to start with, and that's probably gonna be more than enough in the initial stages.
Okay.
I mean, and I think there's gonna be such a community that's gonna be wanting to, like, I think it's gonna
Oh,
go
it's,
big,
yeah,
huge way.
people have wanted it for a long.
And isn't it, am I right that it's the process is like 48 hours, right? Or some amazing, or is it much longer?
There's two retentions periods. There's a 14 and a 21. Obviously the 14 one, you're gonna get it quicker, but you're probably not gonna get as high quality as a 21 day
Okay,
processing rate. We floated both of those in the initial grant, but it's just a determination of which one's gonna work better for us. I mean, if we're getting this
Sure.
large influx of food waste, then obviously we're probably gonna have to do the 14, but if we're starting off small, then we can do the 21.
yeah, better finished product, yeah.
Better finished product. And I've been doing some research on other communities that have composting. Now, granted, they've got these larger facilities where they have the aerated windrows and, you know, an acre of land in which they can work all this. But I think it'd be really cool if we could get our quality of our compost to be certified by the US Composting Council. Because if you could say, I've got this really high quality product, then you can generate more revenue because people are gonna want that
Sure.
higher quality product, especially if it's locally made.
And that's another exciting opportunity is where that partnering with where that product goes, which would be really exciting. part to-
I believe, it was the farms, our community farm, the Easy Bee Farms. That's
Great.
the one I
That's
was
what
trying to
came to
think
mind,
of.
yeah.
It was bothering me that there was one other one I could not think of. So yeah, all of them are aware that, you know, we submitted this grant with the community
So
in mind.
Easy Bee Farms.
Easy Bee Farms
We're
has
also part of it.
they've provided interest in being one of the like waste providers, because you have to have that balance of greens and browns.
Great.
What about Youth Garden Project, maybe?
I was thinking about that.
I think they said no because they generate their own.
They do, they
compost.
have quite a
Doing it
big
there.
part
Yeah.
compost facility.
They're
Yeah.
aware of it.
That they use on their own gardens.
Yeah, the Vista went and talked to them and they said that it's a great idea, but we produce our own,
Excellent.
so.
Will this, Investo do that, compostable paperware, you know, like,
Yes, they do. They actually listed it on the website that, they take like your typicals, but they also do compostable plastics.
well, cause see,
Nice.
I thought for years that once we got something like this started, that should be part of our event process, that they have to use.
Yeah, the permitting,
Because
yeah.
have you seen
absolutely.
the amount
Oh,
of
absolutely, yeah.
waste?
Yeah,
If we could have, you know, that, it would really make a big difference.
absolutely. Yeah.
And we are having, an event workshop. I might just bring it up, say, we're not ready to go here, but I think that for future events, once we have this facility up and running, you know, the folk festival and I think the music festival both do that already voluntarily. I know the folk festival does. So some of them are already doing it, but then the folk festival has a MOU with Utah State and they take their stuff anyway. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
one
a
of
big
them's a
deal.
zero waste event. I
Mhm.
forget which one. If it's the arts or I'm pretty sure it's the folk festival.
I think I'm
That's-
pretty sure
is-
it's folk festival.
Is zero
Cause
waste.
you see all those different kind of.
And they
Yes,
also
there.
stated support. They didn't say that they would be a part of it, but they did state support for this because at this point, I believe they're trucking all of their waste to a different
I think
facility.
Logan,
Logan, I think, is it Logan? Okay, I couldn't remember where. So,
pretty per piece.
and Easy Bee Farms is driving to Grand Junction and buying $100 bags of compost. So this would be also a cost savings to the
Yes.
community.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, it's a fair, I'm just.
Good
thrilled.
job, Jessica. Yeah.
We started working
Awesome.
on this 10 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
For seriously,
Yeah, absolutely.
10
but
years ago, we started talking about it and then we'd get a momentum going and then another thing would happen. We'd be off in this direction, then we'd start talking about it again. So this is just very good news.
yeah, so.
Very good news. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you got some more good
And
news. for
yeah,
us.
we're
Yeah,
gonna-
I
Yeah,
don't know
we'll
if
have
it's
to have a
good
big
news.
event. We'll have to have. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So I'll touch now on the Swiffer grant. So I was able, again, with Chris's help, to successfully submit our materials management and diversion facility grant request in the amount of approximately $4.8 million. This would essentially add, we didn't want to call it a mini MRF, or a materials recovery facility. I felt calling it a materials management and diversion facility would be a much more fitting, vision for what we're trying to do, and to bringing the transfer station or the solid waste into like a singular umbrella. And this would essentially be a sorting line for recyclables, but I also factored in upgrading our HHW facility,
Our which facility?
household hazardous waste.
Oh.
I say facility, it's over there on the other side of the transfer station. Our HHW diversion program, and also getting more sophisticated storage and processing equipment for our universal and electronic waste recycling program. So basically taking all of these different diversions and recycling routes and putting them into a singular facility that's upgraded and can handle the volumes that we're starting to get, because we're getting more and more volumes in those materials, and we don't really have the facility space. I mean, we're already at capacity with the transfer station, so this would also kind of help like upgrade the transfer station, because we would move all of the single stream that's going into one bay of the transfer station into that new facility. So that way we're opening up space in our transfer station. There's less risk of contamination between the two materials, because we don't even have a wall separating the bay 2 and 3 that we put the municipal trash in. So this will allow us to recyclable material, reduce our contamination fees, and would actually connect us with, you say it so much better than me, connect us with other haulers.
Well, yeah, just the shipping lanes and
The shipping
and
lanes, that's
end
it.
markets.
And what's the name of the grant again?
SWIFR, SWIRF. So solid waste infrastructure. I don't know. I've just been calling it SWIFR for the past 2 years.
SWMI.
AJ, we've been talking about this for a couple of months now. Is this clear to you? This is a pretty major endeavor here. Are you clear what Jessica's talking about?
Did we move on past composting?
We did. Yeah, Jessica just submitted a massive grant application. Huge scope.
When will we know?
It probably won't be for at least another 6 or 7 months.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be completely honest, we'd almost completely forgotten we had submitted for the compost grant till I got the call. As I was telling some of y'all earlier, when the USDA office called me, I actually thought, I told the lady, you're joking. I didn't actually believe that we had gotten the compost grant. So, and she's like, no, I'm serious. Y'all were selected. And I was like, sure. So, I think this is just gonna be another one of those that
It's gonna take a long enough.
it's gonna take a long time, especially with how large of a consideration this is.
Yeah.
Big competition.
Well, actually, even just in our region, because San Juan County also submitted for the full 5 million.
So we might get a portion, you think, or do they portion it out sometimes?
they can decide to only give you a portion of your request. If they deem like part of what you requested that doesn't fall under the scope, but especially under the budget narrative, they can decide that one of the contractors, or I included the potential cost of purchasing land. While it didn't say it outright that you couldn't use it to purchase land, they may be like, we don't want to use federal funds to buy land, that because there may be a weird, I don't know. So we went with a almost full amount, and tried to put in a really good push that, we're geographically isolated, and due to this, we don't get the volumes that we could get. We're not really able to create a circular economy or tap into these end markets because the closest single stream facility that could process our single stream is in Salt Lake, and that just greatly increases our carbon footprint, our emissions. So I really tried to push that by doing this, they were going to be capturing like a huge part of Southeast Utah.
Yeah, which could absolutely include San Juan.
Yeah.
So AJ, and I'll definitely butcher this, and Jessica will have to jump in, but basically this, if we were awarded this grant, it would allow us to bring all of our operations into one space and then improve upon the efficiency and effectiveness of these operations so that we're able to really maximize our profitability with finding markets for all of our materials, and just the efficiency of moving all of our waste stream around to its respected end games locally and regionally. Is that a
Yeah.
fair
Assessment?
Was it surprised that San Juan submitted for, I think you said a full 5 million? Is that like over the top for them? Did they just ask for everything and more?
They asked for the cap. You couldn't, the minimum, I believe, was 500,000 and the max was 5 million. It's basically just, there's a limited number in the pot, and we're neighboring counties and both asking for almost or completely the full amount. So it's just, it's the, oh no, who are they going to give it to?
I'm at the website right now. Is the limited pot 58 million bucks countrywide?
Yes, but a certain percentage is specifically designated to track 1 applicants, which is disadvantaged communities, which the entirety of Grand County and San Juan. But we've also got a city of Moab is also designated as a disadvantaged community. So we've got 2 disadvantaged communities stacked on top of each other. I didn't look at San Juan to be honest. But they set a certain percentage of that pot. I want to say like it might be 30%. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have too many numbers floating in there. That goes specifically to our type of application status. So
That's like geographically disadvantaged is what we're talking
Yes.
about.
I believe it's called the CEJST screening tool. What that stands for, I don't know. But
Okay.
it indicates what is considered low income,
Isolation.
the sensitivity to legacy pollution, educational, and something else.
Climate and economic justice screening
Yes,
tool.
screening tool. Yeah, that one.
Cool.
Okay.
Great
Thank
work,
you.
Jessica.
This is-
Great work, Chris.
This
Yeah.
is really good news. Thank you so much. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that you can once again be surprised.
I would love that. I got too much to do, but I would love to get this one for grants.
I'd just like to add something too. It's like, even if we don't get this grant by going through this process, this helps us kind of visualize and kind of set the story as we move forward and we try to, pull in other resources, whatever, as we advance towards kind of our end goal here. So just by doing these processes and stuff, it's kind of building this visualization.
Absolutely.
So, I mean.
And you
yeah.
get the material together, so the next time you want to apply for something,
Yeah,
you're not going, it's a little more.
Yeah, it kind of gives us like a pathway forward, whether we get it or not.
Let's pray we get it.
What else you been doing?
Well, those have been taking up the majority of my time, literally. I was here till 7:30 at night. Well, me and Chris were here until 7:30 at night to submit that grant on the deadline. So the other things are very small peanuts compared to those. So right now we still got a Christmas tree reclamation program going on. I've noticed that we've been getting a fair amount of trees, so that's pretty cool. And that will continue until Saturday, February 1st. For those that are not familiar with our Christmas tree reclamation program, we take live Christmas trees for free And we use them as the feedstock for our green waste reclamation program or the unscreened mulch at Moab. So that way people aren't throwing away their trees, we're reusing them for mulching. Unscreened mulch. And then last, the reuse artists, have been selected. And, since I've been so busy with all the other stuff, I haven't had a chance to schedule it, yet. But they want to tour, start collecting materials, in late February, early March. And what's different about this one is they specifically selected local artists, rather than taking artists from out of town. So this will be a truly local effort. Although I don't know what the artist's focus will be at this time. They haven't announced, yet who the artists are. They just said that they've been selected. So
what is this program?
so it's done through the MARC. They have a spring and fall artist program that they do where they have artists that use sustainable methods to create art that speaks to environmental causes or environmental processes. So if y'all have been, the majority of our artwork is actually, you see it at the CRC. So those tall rainbow statues, those are, they were made as part of the reuse program. And all the like birds that you see on the fence of the CRC, that's through the reuse program. I don't know if it's still there, but at Lions Park, there was that large climbing structure that was through the reuse.
Still there.
I don't know if it's still there.
I think it is.
I haven't been there in a while, but I know what you're
I
talking
don't,
about. Yeah.
I would have known if it was moved. If moved, we would have heard it as commissioners and council.
Yeah, so that
Why
that
would
was
they
through the
move it?
reuse program, and then they typically do like sustainable workshops based on the materials they've collected at our facilities. Most of the time, it's just the CRC, the steel from the transfer or from the pile out there, the metal pile, and then construction material from the Moab landfill. So that's coming up. Thanks for explaining that. Yeah.
It's fun to come and see.
Yeah. Well, yep,
Okay,
that's what I got.
any questions for Jessica? Thanks, great work. Nick?
Well, yeah, that's some great news as we hop off into 2025 is having some grant money and some potential grant money coming in. As a district, we may want to think about, and we can discuss this later with district staff, but the composting, we could set up a class in QuickBooks that we track the revenues and costs associated with that, so it becomes its own kind of little standalone operation. But we'll talk about it as we get closer to that date. So yeah, like I said, that we're in 2025 now. The budget has been submitted to the state, so that's done. I'm working on 2024. I'll be scrubbing the books on that to make sure everything's in the right place. In conjunction with discussion about AMCS, I still am not able to find some good revenue reports to come out of that system. So I'm gonna hunker down and get with our contacts at AMCS and see if I can at least get the raw data that I could maybe sort into appropriate revenue classes. But in the meantime, so yeah, that's another little issue with AMCS. It's I'm not able to see the revenue reports that we wanted to get out of that yet. So I'm going to continue to work on that process because that's part of closing out 2024 is getting those revenue numbers in there. So I will be continue to work on that. With year end, there are some reports that need to be filed. I've already filed the deposits and investments report with the state. There's a payroll transparency report that's due at the end of the month, and also a revenue and expense transparency report due at the end of the month. So I'll be working on those. The 2025 budget is in QuickBooks. I've entered that into QuickBooks so that you are able to pull reports out of QuickBooks related to the budget. potential item or coming up for new board members and existing board members, you may or may not be aware that we do get audited on an annual basis. And the tentative dates for the audit of the 2024 financials is June 3rd through the 5th. So just want to
I keep pushing
that
it
out.
further.
put
Yeah,
that out
when you,
to
when
you.
you, we're doing, same company.
No,
Yes,
How do you
and
say it?
Rich and Marsing.
Yeah. When you talk to them, just really emphasize, we need those audits in, because we get deemed as a county every single year. We get in trouble because,
When does it have to be in for the county?
I can let you know,
Okay.
but when we have to, and it's real frustrating because the state's calling us and yelling at us, and last time it wasn't solid waste. Solid waste once or twice was one that was holding us up. I can't
Generally, I
remember.
think, yeah, generally the county likes, well, ideally, I think they want them by June 30th, the reports.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's something around that date. So if we, little history again for the board members, new members and board members coming on, the district has made fantastic strides each year in terms of the financials being in really good shape. So I want to make sure we continue that tradition
Yes, thank you.
going into the 2024 audit. So last summer when we had the audit, they were actually able to leave a little early. So we had a lot of things in place and good to go and be looked at. So again, I want to kind of see if we can keep that schedule and get that done and then have them be able to issue that audit report as fast as they can. So just have those dates out there in your mind, June 3rd to the 5th. So again, another major item coming up is the bond payment. Again, for knowledge of the board and new board members, the bond that the district has, there's two payments that happen each year. There's a principal and interest payment that happens in May and an interest only payment that happens in November. And so we just did the November one a couple months ago. Coming up this coming May is going to be the principal and interest payment. It's going to be $824,000. And so that's why it's critical that we do set money aside in the PTIF account. So that those funds are available when they are due. So I've seen those monies are coming in. That good work on the district in terms of cash flow is be able to continue to fund that, and we want to keep funding that amount. Let's see. Budget submitted. So yeah, that's my main focus right now is wrapping up the 2024 financials, and the revenue piece is a big component of that. So I'm going to continue to work on that, and we'll get those numbers scrubbed to make sure everything's the right place. And once the auditors start asking for those reports, generally they start wanting to see stuff a month or so before the audit happens. So we should be in good shape by that time. So I think that's all I have at the moment. If there's any questions, again, I just want kudos to the district for and Jessica and for getting these grants going, and you know, hopefully we're going to get that big one. That'd be great. That'd be also maybe a cost center that we want to look at incorporating into our financials if that does come down the pike. But definitely the compost. It's really exciting to hear about that. I'm glad for everyone.
We're very happy.
Yeah, if I could, Nick, what we were thinking about internally for the restricted funds for the compost grant is we still have the bank account at Zion's. I've kept it open because we had a few people still depositing into it that took a while to get them to change their ACHs. But that account is pretty much inactive at this point. I brought it down to just $1,000 balance, but we thought that would be a way to just also physically, isolate the funds.
Okay, that's a good idea. To think about in terms of our payroll, and maybe we come up with an additional code for the compost payroll costs that may happen. Just kind of put some of that stuff in the back of your mind right now and think about, it's essentially going to be a little a line of business that we want to be able to track revenues and costs against. So just kind of think about some of the underlying things to get something up like that up and going. So payroll codes, hours, charged and things like that. So as invoices come in, we charge it to the appropriate place. So we'll discuss that over the next couple of months.
Yeah, actually, that's oddly enough on my administrative tasks, and this is something I may have briefly talked to you, but I don't know about the financial sides of it, such as creating these new codes. We're gonna have to add this to potentially to our budget, our 2025 budget, because it's gonna be expenditures and revenues, because this amount isn't gonna cover everything that we do. And it's just going to be operational expenses to us, which I don't know, budget requirements and stuff like that. I don't know if that means we're now going to have to amend our budget. So we'd have to take that into consideration. There's also development of fee schedules for this pricing and I'm thinking at this from every single angle, including the government standpoint, the financial standpoint, the administrative, the programmatic, and the operational. But when I had a chance, I was actually going to email you and let you know that this is something that we had gotten and what your suggestions for the financials and budgeting side of it would be.
Yeah, there'll be topics like how the money comes to us, whether it's we get reimbursed or they send us
They send it via ACH to the account.
ACH on a periodic basis. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
just think of it in terms of, okay, I'm starting a new business. What do I need to do? Just think of.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
We'll devise a methodology to track and get that efficiently tracked. So.
Yeah.
Be thinking about all those topics related to that.
And basically, as far as revising the budget, as long as your expenditures don't go over the total expenditures, it doesn't have to be in a separate area, but if the total expenditures go over what you budgeted for, that's when you have to do a revised budget.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we can think about, okay, we can devise maybe a little mini business plan for it, saying, okay, we're going to dedicate so many payroll hours a month to this. Here's some of the costs we're going to see: fuel, parts, things like that. We could come up with a mini budget for that, and then we could add that to as an amended budget to our existing one at some point.
That works for me. But I'll send an email out so we can put all this in writing, because I guarantee I will not remember it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll come up with kind of a bullet list of things to think about and maybe topics to explore.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Any questions for Nick? Okay, we're on to board reports. LJ, want to start us out?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Ashley?
I don't have anything other than good job, you guys, on the grants, and
Yeah,
yeah, so great.
a lot of hard work happening here.
Well, I have a couple things. One is a future consideration. Now that we have a full board, I think it's really important we have a field trip. I think we need to have a field trip, take everybody to Moab, take everybody from the transfer station, take everybody out to Klondike. And I personally would prefer to do it before it gets warm, because Klondike is pretty intense when it's warm.
I was actually going to mention that when I saw the future considerations, the board workshop. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and maybe it could be part of the workshop. Anyway, that's a future consideration. Another thing is I was thinking, because my tenure will be up in 2 years, and the process of getting a new treasurer on board isn't simple. It's going to mean getting us together at Zion's and at
Thank you.
the Mountain America. And just the process, and there's all sorts of things that I have to come in and say yes to on the phone. I mean, it's a lot. And so I think it would be good to maybe next meeting have on the agenda to vote in a new treasurer, so, because it's going to take, once we get that new treasurer, it's going to take a month or two to get them ready to take over the position of treasurer.
Got it.
And I'm ready to start doing that planning, succession planning.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So if anyone, think about it, is anybody interested in being treasurer? It's not quite as much work as chair, but close to. So think about it.
Okay.
Not you.
I'm
You
not
stay
gonna-
chair. You stay chair. You stay chair. So, yeah, so that would be, so think about it, and for the next meeting, we're gonna have it as a possible action item. And we can think how to put it down is, a 2-month transition process to have them be voted on in 3 months from there, then I would step out, cause, or how, maybe I'll talk to somebody about how to do that. Cause it was a lot of work when I got on board. Okay.
Great, thanks for being treasurer. Diane?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. One thing I wanted to clarify is this composting grant that we have been talking about this evening. Is that the same one that I remember going into Alexi Lamb's office and the two ladies in there that were part-time, or I forget their titles. They were working on a composting grant, and I think this is one and the same, but I've not heard their names mentioned tonight. Is it the same one that they were working on?
Yes, it was. At the beginning of my report, I stated the four collaborators was us, the city of Moab, Moab Grown, and the USU
Right,
Moab
okay.
Extension Office. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Then that over, I have been doing some interesting reading. I found the 2008 Solid Waste Management Plan on the website. And I don't believe there's been another more recent management plan. And I found it extremely interesting, informative. And I just, with all this activity tonight, and even without the new activity that we're hearing tonight, I think a workshop, if we decide to have one, should consider looking at emulating, not hiring someone to do this, but emulating gathering of data that could be understood. In this document had graphs, and it had other ways to communicate the information. And I just think that I've been on the board a lot of years, and I've never been able to see this information. I think Nick has the information, and I think that it would be really nice for us to sit down and decide, number one, what businesses that we do are making money for us, and what businesses are not making money for us, and on and on and on. It's just information that I think that we need going into the future. So I am elated that we want to have a workshop. I don't think we've had a workshop since I've been on the board, and I think that we need to do a workshop.
Yes. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because yeah, you're right. The data is available to look at in terms of those cost centers. You can see which ones operate at a loss, which ones are in a positive. But yeah, so that's a great idea, Diane.
Mike?
Nothing here, just, yeah, congratulations, Jessica, on those grants. And I think you maybe shared it before, but would you mind emailing us the composting grant again? Or emailing it for the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great, thanks.
Emails get lost.
My report I have, we just finished last week was our strategic planning retreat. And so the city that'll now inform the budgeting process. So if there is anything that, with the contract that you want me pushing or talking to the city about, please let me know. And then I did hear from Marcy that they're still getting a huge amount of calls. People asking for like payment history and different things. But she said that they're finally at the point where they're starting to see a pretty significant decline. And so looking forward to that. Yeah.
Fine.
Yep. And that is it. So moving on to future considerations. G, we've got a discussion action item, the extended warranty for the BOMAG compactor.
So the compactor is coming up on its, the end of its original warranty that we purchased. It was always the plan that we would purchase this second, our warranty. It's obviously an essential piece of equipment for the district. We found out that the warranty is transferable if we decide to go into another, direction. The cost of the warranty is 50,000 and some change. I believe it's a 4-year, 4,000 hour warranty, but we have to act on it. We're within about 50 hours before, if we go over that period of the initial warranty, we can extend our warranty, but if we go past it, we have to purchase a whole new warranty. There'll be a significant increase in price. I know I talked a little bit with Nick when he was out there, so I'm not sure whether we actually got it in the budget. I think it was kind of near the end. Do you recall that, Nick? Whether that was?
I'll have to look. I think we put some extra dollars in there. Just
Okay.
as a caveat, this January we're in right now, we're making our last payment on the BOMAG, so that debt goes away at the end of this month. So, and that has been about 50 grand a year. So
Yeah,
almost kind of be a wash in terms of expense side.
I mean, so the downside to the BOMAG is not the machine. The downside is our service. We struggle to get service through our warranty. It takes a little bit of effort, but I definitely think it's worth it. I mean, it's our number one machine. My first year here, I think the compactor we had at the time, and I can't remember exactly, but it was close to $60,000 that we spent in repairs just that first year. And this one is starting to get up in hours. And I think it's the right move. I have considered about trying to sell this one off and just move towards kind of like what I'd like to do with the entire district, is move to more leasing things where things are under warranty. So that's why, if we did get it, is transferable. So.
What year is this machine?
Oh,
2019.
yep. I was
Thank you,
thinking,
Nick.
yep.
So it's 5 years or 6 years.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the extended warranty for the BOMAG compactor to not exceed
Probably 60.
$60,000.
Great. There's a motion. Is there a second? LJ? Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. All in
Machines are expensive.
All in favor? Are there any opposed? Okay. We're on to H, discussion action item, solid waste board workshop. This is you, Chris. We put that on there.
Yeah, I just brought it up. I think there's just, with a lot of new people here, we're kind of going into a new era. I just think it would be good to sit down and be able to have kind of open discussions about some different things.
Absolutely.
And the tour, that would be great, kind of get everyone familiar. I know when we first started here, I was really pushing to try to focus on, trying to get the board kind of structured in our bylaws and all that, kind of to give you guys the tools to be able to move forward and be able to kind of pass on the knowledge and try to get it set, so when, you know, as the board cycles through new people, that there is some kind of structure involved with being able to pass on the knowledge. It was just kind of in passing. We hadn't even really talked about a date or anything. I just kind of wanted to get it out there so we can start the discussion and start planning a time.
How long are you thinking of?
It's been like a half day.
Half
Yeah.
a day,
I think so.
would it be good to do like a half a day? You know, make it more of a full day, but do like, do maybe break it up with,
Do like site tours in the
Some
morning
tours, yeah.
and then actual like sit down brainstorming stuffing in the afternoon.
or maybe do.
Or do a little bit and then take a break and go do it, because, you know, sitting here for a long time.
So maybe go do mowing. And then come and start, then to do the transfer station. And then at the close, go to Klondike, because that's what's gonna take the longest. Or anyway, so that was, or vice versa, do the one that's gonna take the longest and come back and start. But but that would be people being able to give up a day.
Yeah, and what does that look like for people's schedules, being able to give up a weekday or a weekend day or?
I can if I know, have an advance notice, I can
Notice, okay.
list it off.
I can send out a doodle poll if that would be helpful to just kind of try and find a day that would work for the most people.
So, Ashley, what are your thoughts?
I think a Friday is better and I suggest a weekday because I want to see these places in action.
Yeah, nice, good.
Yeah, I do too, and seeing what they do out at Klondike. How they have to move things and just the tech, it's pretty impressive what they do.
Yeah, I'd say a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday would work for me, because those are slower days at work for me.
Okay.
That's easier for me to take them off.
And then, we will have a doodle poll, but Mike and Diane, is that something, and AJ now, is that something that the three of you could work out?
I'm retired.
All right.
Yeah, I could do that if we have notice. Yep.
Okay,
Same.
okay.
So
Thanks,
you
Lily.
send
Yeah,
out a doodle poll
great
and
I
idea.
mean, I was kind of thinking March,
That's what I was thinking.
March, April-ish. I
That
mean,
sounds great, yeah.
before the season hits, but
before it
there's,
gets hot.
yeah, before it gets hot, but then we're busy enough to kind of see some. So, yeah.
Where is that? Is it off the east side or the west side of the highway out there?
West side,
West.
Is it?
Yeah.
just up from the airport, there's
Yeah.
like a big tower if you're driving.
You'll,
like,
you'll see it. It's pretty easy
It's
to
by
see.
the, it's by the tower. It's that tower road. Got it.
Yep.
I see it.
Okay, then our next meeting scheduled for February 19th, 2025.
I make a motion, do we need to do this? I make a motion to go into close,
Do you
or
need
did
to-
you just leave that there? To go into closed session to discuss pending or reasonable intermittent litigation, do we need that?
I don't know anything about it. Do we have a reason to go into closed session?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Unless,
I don't have any updates since we discussed it
Okay.
at the December meeting. I thought there was some talk.
Then I suggest what to do is don't put anything, if you don't have one, don't put anything there. Just
Absolutely.
put closed session if necessary. Then you can go into closed session at any time of the meeting if the need comes, but then it doesn't make you think. Because when I saw that, I thought, oh, we must be having a closed session.
I had thought we had things to discuss.
But we don't, good.
yeah,
I'm
it's just, there
thrilled.
hasn't been any development, so I
Great.
would rather not waste time on something.
Oh, yeah, I really appreciate that.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Oh, Lord, the workshop coming up.